Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you gotta get spotted.
Yeah, but we all think you're crazy.
Wow. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun.
Welcome, everybody. Let's fix the camera there. We just had an absolute shocker. Federal Reserve dropping interest rates another 50 basis points and introducing, what is it, 700 billion in quantitative easing. I am just absolutely blown away. I was not expecting this at all. Hello, and hey, thanks, Win, for stopping in. We missed you last time we did a Sunday stream, so I'm glad to see you here. Yeah, I was wondering if you'd appear. I saw that. I was like, well, we're going to have to watch this open. We're going to have to watch it. So here we are. Let me show you how this works. Up into the... Sorry about that. The hour before the futures go live, we are able to put liquidity up on the DOM, but they're not allowed to enter market orders. So you can see there's already a few orders out there. They are about a little bit above where they were, about 20 points above where they were on Friday. By the way, how do I sound? Do I sound okay? Because I'm listening here on my headphones. It sounds different to me. It sounds different to me, guys. Bum, bum, bum. I don't know what the deal is with that. Well, Bob Bear says this is hilarious. I mean, I don't find it funny, to be honest. Sounds great. Here, let me turn on the text-to-speech here. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Here's the thing, is that last time that I saw quantitative easing, it was kind of a situation where it was like, you know, things weren't so bad, but they weren't so good. And, you know, it was just like a great way for them to like keep the economy going. Now they're using it as an outright boost the economy in a recession measure. And I don't know how that's going to turn out. I don't know what that's going to be like. That's the big question in my mind. All I know is that when it was quantitative easing the last time, that was like the best trading ever. Oh my gosh, it was such good trading. So I'm really excited. I'm See if we get anything here. I'm getting stuff over here on the 5 and the 30, but not on the 10. Maybe that's because that's the one I was messing around with. Trying to see if I could.
I2 Yanth Great says socialism works, smiley face. Time to put Medicare for all on the credit card too.
Yeah.
Winston's mom says just for you, speculator Seth. I will have to listen to Robert Wright to see what his perspectives are. I know you are a huge fan of his. Giggle.
Right.
Bob Bear says the notion of emergency cuts, it's a bit rash.
Well, I mean, we've had 2 emergency cuts. I think that they just decided that they needed to do it now instead of Wednesday. It was unclear to me if this was going to replace their Wednesday meeting or not. I think it was.
Jonathan Fain says can't lower the rate much more. So when 500k people are infected, what's the Fed going to do?
Well, okay, so a couple of thoughts here. First of all, you got to realize that the effects of quantitative easing are not like an all-at-once thing. A lot of people seem to think that it's like an all-at-once thing, that Federal Reserve is buying, you know, $700 billion worth of stuff right, you know, in the next 5 minutes here, and then that's it. That's not the way that it works. Quantitative easing is something that, you know, they're going to buy that much money, $700 billion worth of assets. That takes a very, very long time to happen. And so this is something that you're going to see that's going to take place over the next 6 months. And so, that is definitely going to help the economy in that 6 months. And it really is like, we got to keep things going until May, essentially. And then if we're able to avoid the worst of it by May, then things might not necessarily be so bad. Okay. Can they go negative? I still of the opinion that negative interest rates would be really bad for the global financial system, but who knows?
Antenna Wild says a rate cut will do little to mitigate a global supply chain disruption due to the coronavirus. I2 Yanth Great says, will they save the cruise lines? Antenna Wild says cutting rates during a stock market sell-off and a crisis of confidence could send a signal to investors and consumers that things are going to get worse.
That's not necessarily true. Is this really live? Just have
Peter
it read this
Bagniski
last
says,
one
is this really live?
We are totally live here. You might get a delay of like 5 to 10 seconds, depending on how late you are. And if you get delayed, you can like reload the web page, and sometimes that will catch you up a little bit. Yeah, so this is live here at the top of the hour at 6 o'clock Eastern time. The futures are going to go live, and we're going to see how they're going to react. It is probably going to be a insane. This is probably going to be one of the most craziest things we've ever seen. I would expect it to just be nuts. Okay, so on the crisis of confidence sort of a thing, I think that there's definitely some confidence issues, but I mean, the whole thing has been here is that it seems to me that the government is timing their moves in specific times to push the markets. Like the Federal Reserve absolutely did this to pump the markets up on the Monday, because otherwise that Friday had a very low chance of following through because it was a lot of short covering. But if you can get a bunch of people to get going long here and start to get some trend, then hey, maybe they can pull it out. So, the issue with the whole confidence issue with the Federal Reserve is that the Federal Reserve's actions don't just affect confidence. Yeah, that's like one part of it. But the Federal Reserve is going to be out there buying things regardless of what you or I think of it. And so the positive effects that it's going to have in terms of like, boosting asset prices and fighting deflation are going to be there regardless of how you feel about it. So I think fighting the Fed is one of those things I would not recommend going short here. I think we might see something where on the open they sell a little bit first. And then you start to see the pump come in. But like just going outright short here, I don't know. Could do, because I mean the things could get worse, and I think that if the valuations of the companies and everything are less, even with all of the Federal Reserve's anti-deflationary measures, then we could still go lower. But I wouldn't want to be long-term short. That's for sure. Couple more comments here. Let's read them.
Winston's mom says, in fact, we had an inflation rate peaking pretty much in about 1980, 13% or so. Cato Econo Jim Dorn, founding director of the conference, recalled on a recent episode Macro Musings podcast. Antenna Wild says CDC projections show we are tracked to experience the worst of things over the next month before the bell curve calms down. I expect some gains, but the drops will continue for at least 2 months. Winston's mom says yes, Peter Bagniski speculator Seth hosts this channel daily as a live day trading platform. This Sunday, he is hosting an episode to discuss the Fed rate cut.
So here's the other side of this. Remember that there isn't a direct relationship between the number of confirmed coronavirus cases and confirmed coronavirus deaths and the S&P 500. There simply isn't. The fact of the matter is that social isolation measures have a much larger impact than the actual deaths do. You know what I mean? So what the actual effect when we get the worst of it, because you're right, things are probably going to get a lot worse in the next 2 to 4 weeks in terms of the number of cases and so forth. And we really have absolutely no clue how bad or how not bad it is. And when it gets worse, okay, here we go. Here they open. Look at the 5-year. Oh my. Okay, so the 5-year is moving down. It appears. It appears to be moving down. Here's ES coming back to where it was actually. 2611. Okay. Not a lot of liquidity being put up here on the open either. That's interesting. Wow, this is something else. And let's just wait here. It's interesting that they're not putting their numbers up, but part of this is I think that the margin numbers for everybody have changed. So there's probably a lot of people that would like to be participating in this and can't. Okay, yeah, that the 10-year is significantly higher. 138.08 was the high there. Now they've moved back down, but I think you buy that right there. If it was more liquidity, I would maybe try taking one on sim here. I can't really trade it this time because they increased the margin, but I really like that. Like let's just try it right there. Okay. And then yeah, so you can see a lot of like head fakey kind of moves. See what happens. This is all for fun, right? Oh man. Oh man. The E-mini is kind of moving back up though. They went down to 2560 and now they're back up. Wow. This is just all over the place. Talk about wild. Okay, now we're starting to get some liquidity put up there in the 10-year. Okay, that's good. I think I can get another one at 137. I will. 70 points in 1 minute, right? Yeah, but like look at how few contracts are actually trading. It's pretty wild. That's pretty wild. Okay, they're back above 2600 in the ES.
Winston's mom says, do you follow Jim Bianco on Twitter at Bianco Research? He has data modeling January 27th. He built a graph with the hard quarantined number at just over 44,000 in. Winston's mom says, pose the question, are people under quarantine the inventory for future infection growth? How fast to 100K? Nasdaq.com.
Well, I think that we would probably almost certainly get to 100,000. Like, let's say, how many deaths do we think that there will be? Will we have more than Italy? Like, that's kind of the question. Are we going to get as bad as Italy? And we don't really know. I know a lot of people are trying to say that, it's like this and this, but those are kind of based on like worst case scenario numbers. We don't really know how many people are infected. We have no way of knowing. It's just kind of estimating. We don't know. And how bad it can get. It's just, it's all crazy.
Antenna Wild says death rate is 8% with people over 70.
Yeah. And
Winston's mom says the Italians have a very large aging population.
It's true. I mean, that's the really big thing. Wow, we're back down to 2570. Look at the way the treasury is moving up. I wish I had gotten a second contract there at 137. The film Contagion is interesting. You know what? I keep meaning to watch that because I remember watching it once. And every time I got on Netflix, I see it. But then I'm like, no, I think I would rather watch the new Castlevania season. Which, by the way, was interesting, to say the least. Oh, boy. And the 5-year in particular. Wild. Keep going, keep going. It's interesting to me that the E-mini trading the way that it is.
Baron Cosgun
Oh,
says
does
the
it
funny
really?
thing about it is it refers to bats, lol.
You know, I was reading about that today because a lot of the initial reports said that it was bats, but then they've been saying it's not. That they think that it will came from a bat and then it went through some other animal and then it got to humans. So I don't.
Winston's mom says there goes Florida, and my mother, and I should not joke about my old relatives who live in Florida. And drive on the left side of the road
Right.
with their blinkers on.
Well, I mean, the thing is, like with it affecting mostly old people, yeah, but and I don't mean to be callous or anything, but if we lost a large number of older people, that could actually be good for the economy in the long run. But we really want to avoid that, don't we? We really want to avoid that.
Winston's mom says Baron Cosgum that movie is scary under the best of times. And I read that everyone is now
Need to watch
rewatching the
it.
movie and it's jumped up to number 2 on social media.
After this, I'll
Bob
go
Bear
on
says
Netflix and watch it.
CNBC is going to run live special coverage tonight, lol. Jonathan Fain says agree.
Yeah, we really do want to reduce the number of deaths as much as we can. It looks like there's some buy-in coming in here into the E-mini. Let's reduce that. I don't need to see Bitcoin. Okay. Right there. No. Maybe. Come on. Now the E-mini futures are seeing some wild stuff, man. Where is my... there you are. There we are. Ooh. A robot's just going everywhere. But the Treasury is much better bet. I was actually surprised that the Treasury saw any kind of pullback at all. I mean, there was like 138.08 was the high of this. There is no way that's holding. There is no way that's holding.
Bob Bear says, are we betting on limit downs this week? Face with tears of joy.
Oh, I don't know. I think we might hit the overnight limits a couple of times again, for sure. The overnight limits, yeah. But the daily limits, I don't know. The problem is that I really think that a lot of that move this week had to do with people finally being able to value things. You know what I mean? Like when Goldman Sachs came out and said we think that the S&P will go down to 2450, like that was a lot of people were like, okay, like the analysts have done their math and that's where it gets to, and so we got to get there. And so it was a very, very quick move to that. But then you added everybody panicking on top of this. You know what I mean? So, ooh.
Anna R. says, what does this mean for mortgage REFINACE rates?
Oh, man. Well, they're going to zero now, right? So there's this really big question still out there, which is, will the Federal Reserve ever do negative interest rates? And I am still of the opinion that they won't. I think that almost everybody in the United States that knows anything is in opposition of negative rates in the United States. And if we had negative rates in the United States, there'd be a lot of pension funds and so forth out there in the world that would not be stable anymore. So I don't think that we'll get negative. So I think that we're pretty close to as good as you're going to get in mortgage rates. Now, there's a couple of things that I don't know about how mortgage rates follow Treasury rates. So I think that there's a little bit of a lag. When I was looking, and they had reduced things down to 0.5, and I was only getting like 3.5 mortgage rate from mortgage company because I've been looking at possibly refinancing. So I think maybe there's a little bit of lag on it as well as it always being a little bit more than the 10-year. So I don't know.
Lane says didn't work last time, won't work this time.
Yeah, so I wouldn't say that it didn't work. I think that the impacts of the repo
the repurchase agreements that the Federal Reserve made, you're not really going to see those actively in the markets, at least not yet. Really all that does is allows the banks to continue their operations with their clients. And I don't really see that as quantitative easing in the way that some people have. And as I said before, the Fed is going to be there buying things regardless of what we do and what we think. So I think that you kind of have to look at the valuation of companies in terms of how the current conditions are going to affect them, and then factor into it the inflation, and the Federal Reserve buying stuff is going to kind of fight that deflationary pressures. So you kind of factor that all in. It might be up, it might be down, I don't know. But I wouldn't come in and say it doesn't work like that because they put it in one thing and then they're relatively down from yesterday's level, from Friday's level, means that it doesn't work. I wouldn't agree with that. It's going to take a long time for that $700 billion to percolate through the system and for us to see the net effect that it has. And, might not counteract the valuation decline that we're seeing, but I can't calculate that. All I know is that it's usually not too wise to fight the Federal Reserve. Usually not too wise. You know what I mean?
Dave A. says mortgage rates follow Fed fund rate more closely, I believe. Jonathan Fain says health insurance companies stand to gain by loose old people. Also, I am sure the government is going to pay all these labs and testing. So profits should be high in the healthcare sector. Winston's mom says, that's great. It starts with an earthquake, birds and snakes, and aeroplanes, and Lenny Bruce is not afraid. It's the end of the world as we know it. John Broad says lol. John Broad says learn how to strangle a chicken. Antenna Wild says what is the Fed actually buying?
So that's a good
Winston's
question,
mom
Antenna.
says 44 watching now. Please hit like. I believe this will help your immune system. Oranges will also, so everyone please hit like and up your vitamin C intake.
Thank you for that, Win. Yeah. Hit that like button. It helps the channel a lot.
Balboa says, is the Fed likely to begin purchasing municipal debt instruments as well? Vinay says, why is Bitcoin shoot up? Steve Lee says, what will happen to gold price?
Oh, man. Well, so we should pull the gold up here. What has gold been doing here? Gold is up a little bit. So I would be careful with gold. Okay, so gold is absolutely something that tends to be a flight to safety asset, but it's still it's trading, right? Like nobody has to hold gold. And so when you get a margin call, that's like gold is like one of the first things to go, where you liquidate your profits so that you can fund the rest of your stuff. And that's why gold has been going down. It hasn't been a very reliable trade. So I don't know. Like personally, I think your best flight to safety is always going to be the dollar, treasuries, because those have to move. Whereas gold is kind of more of a trade, if that makes sense. And same with Bitcoin. I don't know where Bitcoin is right now. 5,000. I still see some further downside on Bitcoin. It seems to me like people don't have a whole lot of confidence in it as a flight to safety anymore. So, yeah.
Tuscany JC says mortgage rates follow the 10-year bond, although they went up last week, showing a disconnected 3.875 as of Friday 30-year.
I think at some point they might have to drop them. That's why I'm kind of sitting here like just biding my time. Like, okay, how much, does it have to go? How long until it kind of catches up and I get a good interest rate? Because the rates that they were quoting to me didn't seem to make sense to me.
Popular No V Bulgaria says, guys, this is no joke. It's literally the end of the world as we know it.
It's not literally the end of the world, but it's about as crazy as it gets in financial markets. That's for sure. Look at that $1,000 ZN trade, huh? That was sim. Just ignore it. We're just messing around. But that one was a good call. The one over here on the left, the E-mini one, I kind of think that we're gonna hold this level here, so I'm gonna kind of hold it. But let's just like swing it, like maybe, we'll give it some more room since we have so many profits to work with.
And this is all a sim account, so we can just we can do some irresponsible things. Normally I wouldn't let something go, 10 ticks against me, but that's the way it is.
Tuscany JC said 2000 and 2008 and 1987 and 1929. We'll see though.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be the end of the world. But there could be a lot of people die that we need to avoid, right? So I think social distancing measures make sense now. Of course, there was a time I was making fun of it, right? Oh yeah, today is March 15th. Thank you, and let's fix that. There was a time where we were making fun of like everybody being quarantined, and it's not quite as bad as we were talking about, but this is definitely a lot further than I ever imagined that it was going to go. And I really can't even fathom the effect that it has on some companies. I keep asking my wife, because she is a flight attendant. I keep asking her, hey, is your company going to be okay? And she tells me what they've been telling her, and I'm like, they're not, you don't really think that they're going to lay people off? And she doesn't seem concerned about it. So I don't know. It might not, the effects on companies might not be as bad as we think. Because companies are smart. They know, hey, this only lasts so long, and this is how long we expect it to last, and these are our financials and everything else like that. And they know, hey, it's probably not a good idea to lay everybody off, because then we're going to need them again in July or whatever it is. So so far it seems like there haven't been a whole lot of layoffs. The Thursday number, the unemployment claims on Thursday is going to be a big important number. We'll see how it actually turns out. But yeah, so it kind of depends on, and not only that, but like how much heat they can actually handle. Because maybe they're trying to hold it off, but then they end up not being able to because things get worse. Let's see.
Winston's mom says a friend of mine flew today on JetBlue from JFK to LA. I am waiting to hear how her flight went. The lines for the disembarking passengers from overseas are insane. Germans are coming, says hi Seth.
Hi man. Hey, welcome. It's like 3 days in a row now. It's nice to see you. You've become a nice, solid regular.
Baron Kosgun says 2008 was worse on a macro and micro level.
Oh yeah. Like the thing is that in 2008 there was financial contagion, right? So far we haven't seen financial contagion, and I believe that the Federal Reserve is acting quickly enough that we're not going to see a whole lot of that. But you never know. Like it'll surprise us always. There's always going to be something that's going to surprise us,
Jacob Awada says just tuning in. Could you explain the effect of the Fed cutting interest rates on the market tomorrow?
Okay, well, so when the Federal Reserve cuts interest rates, it basically forces people out of safe assets like, just holding money in the bank, and forces them to go out and put their money to work in markets. Otherwise, they're going to lose money. So, and then you combine that with quantitative easing, which is the one that's really going to affect us in a short-term trading perspective. That usually leads to buying in the markets. But they're still pricing in the virus, and so there's going to be a battle. One side's going to say the virus is going to get worse and we should go lower, and the other side's going to say the Federal Reserve is buying things and we're going to front run them. So that's a battle. That's kind of the battle that we're seeing right now, and it's interesting to me to see that so far the E-mini is not really battling it out too hard. Are we at the 5% limit down? We are. 225.50 is the limit down, isn't it? Hold on a second, guys. I don't know what the reference price is, but just seeing that right there says to me that is the limit down. So we'll try, and since it happened so quickly, we'll take it. Let's see here. What was the open? It was 26.32. Let me do some math here. 26.32 times times 0.95. It's 2,500. Just the way that it's sitting there. So when you hit limit down, they're not allowed to market sell into 25, 55, 25, and you can see that that's what's happening. So I think that we are stuck in limit down in the futures, which is kind of funny. Kind of funny. Okay, so other questions here.
Balboa says banks are already struggling with profitability. Negative interest rates weaken demand and decrease lending because the additional costs reduce banks' profit margins.
Yeah, totally. And I covered that earlier. I really don't think that they're going to do negative interest rates. Like other countries can do that, but if the United States did it and the whole world was negative, I really don't think that it would work. But we'll see.
Balboa says, how will this affect insurance and pension funds?
I mean, like I'm concerned about all of these Japanese pension funds that have been coming over to the U.S. and buying bonds, because what happens when they become insolvent? And then do you have to start bailing out pension funds? Like, that's a really big mess. I really don't know what you do about that. I think at some point they would have to just say that certain things that would normally be insured aren't. Federally insured aren't, but let's not think about it. We're not to that point yet. We'll see if the Federal Reserve says anything about it.
King Justice 98 says get ready for NZ, Australia, UK, and Canada to go to zero or negative.
Oh, yeah.
Pensions and insurance companies have nowhere to park their money.
Totally.
Dave A says it's limit down for like 4 minutes already, lol.
I wasn't even really paying attention, but you're right. It's been limit down now for quite a bit. There's not a whole lot placed on there. It's totally possible for somebody to come in and spike them up. Then the treasuries are trading the way that I would expect, but the E-mini has been kind of weird. So we'll see about it.
Worker B says at Winstanzamana, I really was liking my high interest savings account, skeptical smiley face. Balboa says with the stark effects of the slowdown nationwide, is the Fed likely to expand the scope of QE and begin purchasing municipal debt instruments as well? Winston's mom says Worker B, I hear you. However, I was planning on refinancing my home, so I guess with chaos comes balance.
Yeah,
Sigh.
I would like to refinance my home. Now, in terms of municipal debt, I don't know. The thing is that we got the announcement, but I didn't see. I saw $700 billion in assets, but I didn't see what they were actually going to buy with them. A lot of that tends to just be treasuries, so I don't know. That's why when I came in there, I'm like, yeah, the treasuries are probably gonna move up. They did. Treasuries did move up. They're not at their 5% limit though. I don't think. They could stand to go a little bit higher. The equity index futures are down 5%. I don't believe that's the end of the story. Like if they're limit down and they stay limit down from now until the open, then I'm wrong. And I don't really have any way of telling, of course, but it just seems weird to me that only have 3,000 contracts on offer, and they're trying to pump the markets that somebody's not going to come in and, cause a short squeeze of some sort, right?
Winston's mom says I saw today on oil that the talking heads believe Saudi Arabia will blink first. They need oil at $80 a barrel to pay their nut. And Aramco is now public.
Yeah, well, I don't know a whole lot about oil, but one of the things that I've always noticed about the Saudis is that they're willing to take the pain. They're willing to take the pain. So, I don't know, like they have reserves and stuff.
Wide Open Change says SPY SPX.
Yeah, so Wide Open, we're playing with the big boy toys over here. No offense to any of you guys that trade SPY and SPXs. There's reasons to do those, but I'm doing the futures, and SPY doesn't open until 9:30 tomorrow. So we have what they call it ES, which is S&P 500 E mini futures. So this one is the one on the far left, the DOM right here. That's the one you want to look at, 25, 55, 50. And then this one right next to it, the micros, is just like, 1/10 the margin of that. So we kind of mess around with that one. When the Fed fires a bazooka is an admission that we are entering a recession. Equities will collapse as market needs to now price in 100% probability of a recession in 2020. Wall Street still positioned for a VWU reversal, more like an L, says Brannigan Barrett. Okay. Wide open, no problem.
Winston's mom says MSNBC is saying that because the expected Fed rate cut happened on Sunday night, everyone is questioning whether this is a panic signal.
Well, yeah, but again, the whole like how do we want to put this? If you want to fight the Fed, let's say, if you want to fight the Fed, okay, that is like a short-term trade, okay. I really don't think that you come in and you say, oh yeah, like this is panic and we're gonna sell it for the next 10 years, right? No. The Federal Reserve is going to be buying $700 billion worth of stuff regardless of what we do, right? So you can price it out. You can say, okay, we're all going to sell it, and the Federal Reserve is going to buy $700 billion, and where does that put us? Now, all I know is that $700 billion is a lot of effing money. So, the futures can sell it down for a little bit and we can say, oh, the market doesn't believe the Fed, the market's panicking or whatever. It doesn't matter. That's not the end of the battle, right?
Joe Huerta says, so when Feds cut interest rates to 0, what does that mean for us?
Okay, so it means that you can refinance your house for really, really low and you can buy a better house probably. It means that you're not going to make very much money at all, or you're really going to lose money by just holding it into the bank. And so there's a lot of reasons to go out and buy equities here, even though I really don't know how far they're going to go down. You know what I mean? Yeah. Is it a $5 trillion?
Uzi Knesset says $700 billion band-aid on a $5 trillion bullet wound? Lol.
I mean, I think that the gash that we've experienced so far, okay, 5 trillion maybe, but like, where are we at now, and where do they actually have to price it? I don't know.
Lucas says, hi Ace. Winston's mom says, so, I talked to a nice young man in New Zealand who appears to lean nationalist. I think he is around your age. He listens to a right-wing metalhead if such a thing exists. Have you heard of Razor Fist?
Never
Ace
heard of
Trades
that.
says Lucas.
That sounds ridiculous.
King Justice 98 says, what do you think will happen with Bitcoin?
Yeah, so that one keeps coming up. I have, well, I didn't mention this, but if you scroll down in the video description, I have a Patreon page and I post Bitcoin charts every weekday. After a week, if you're not subscribed, you can still see them after a week. So if you subscribed, then you get the chart that day. You get it a week earlier than everybody else. It's $5 a month. I have a group of guys that have been doing it now for 2-3 years, I think. And it's been really extremely effective. And the model that I have was predicting a collapse in Bitcoin prices. And then we could kind of see, the market's going crazy and Bitcoin's just kind of sitting here, something's up. And of course, finally somebody puked and Bitcoin went lower. So the model suggests that there could be more downside in Bitcoin. Model suggests that we could get down to 3,000, if not below that. And I just don't see the case for Bitcoin right now. Like, people are looking for a place to park their money. Why would you park it in Bitcoin, especially when it's gone the last, like, how much percent of its value? Like 50% or something? Like, it's absolutely ridiculous. So I really would not, I really just do not see this place as a favorable risk reward trade in Bitcoin. I'm not giving like advice or anything like that. I'm just telling you what my model says and what I'm planning on doing. I would like to buy Bitcoin at some point, but it's just not there. And I don't want to hold it in a recession. I just don't think that it's a good flight to safety asset at all. At all. Bitcoin is a waste of electricity. A couple of these here. Let me skip this. Let's see what Algo Lover says.
Algo Lover says S buyers will need to hold bid above 2,500 to hold the range. If not, then anticipate a deeper pullback with 2,254 as a potential target this week. Nerdface.
Okay.
FBI says it can turn around really quick.
Oh yeah, it absolutely can, but the fundamental case is just not there, guys. So here's the problem that you got to look at is like, why would you want to have it in Bitcoin? Because you think that other people are going to come in behind you and they're going to buy it? How many people do you know out there that have like this huge wad of cash and are just looking to buy absolutely everything up? It's not there. They're selling everything. They're even selling their gold futures. You know what I mean? And yeah, you want to find like a safe haven away from the Federal Reserve interest rate cuts. You know where that is? It's the treasuries, guys. When the Federal Reserve cuts interest rates, treasuries are worth more. They literally, I think it's so funny. They literally tell you exactly what they're going to do. And they give you this instrument to hedge yourself against what they're going to do. And when you buy that instrument, it helps them accomplish what they want to do. Why would you put it into Bitcoin and not a treasury? Look at that. I just put that in there. Obviously, it's a sim account and we're just dicking around, but $1,000 just in 30 minutes from buying one 10-year treasury future. And there's probably more to come, right? How do you look at that and then you look at Bitcoin down 50% and say, oh yeah, Bitcoin is the one that I want to buy? Doesn't make sense to me. Bitcoin is just not performing favorably in this environment. And everybody said that it should have, and it didn't. And the safe haven theory of Bitcoin has been absolutely decimated. Absolutely decimated. And the guys in Bitcoin in particular, not some of the altcoins, but Bitcoin in particular, are going to have to rethink their whole worldview because it's just been such a disaster. So that's what I think about Bitcoin. And I know some people wouldn't like to hear about that, but I've been pretty consistent on this. I predicted that this is what was going to happen. I predicted where the break was and all of this. So I feel like I have a pretty good record that I can confidently say something like that and not look like a fool. But we'll see. We'll see. If it pumps back up to 15K all of a sudden tomorrow, then obviously I'll look really dumb, won't I? Okay.
Cursori Forex says, Seth, what economic releases calendar you use?
Okay,
It's
so
from
this
Ninja Trader or other.
This economic releases panel right here is built into Jigsaw Day Trader. It's a new feature that they released like 3 weeks ago or something like that. Works really good. Sometimes Twitter is actually faster than that, so it's not the greatest, but it's pretty good.
Winston's mom says 57 watching now and only 1 thumbs down. Lol, please take a quick second to hit like and for waffles.
Oh yeah,
I would love some waffles right now.
Hey, listen, if you really don't like my opinion on Bitcoin, go ahead and downvote it. It's okay. Still helps the channel. Okay, good thought here.
Balboa says, given the amount of debt the U.S. is now issuing, were negative interest rates and an endless QE program always ultimately going to be a necessary step?
Well, I really hope not. You don't want to be like Japan that have been QE forever, right? That's always been the, what is the word? That the criticism of quantitative easing is that it in the end, it results in a sluggish economy and you never get out of it. And what's the end game of that? Nobody knows. And it concerns me for sure. It concerns me for sure. Okay, what's Algo Lover say about gold?
Algo Lover says, GC, if sellers sustain offer below 1590, then 1472 target. If 1590 goes bid before that target trades, then anticipate squeeze higher. Nerdface.
Thank you, Joe.
Joe Huerta says, I just gave you a like. Germans are coming says? The stock buyback in equities with cheap money now underwater and having to pay back the loans. Is there an issue? What do you think? David Avagian says, what will this mean for mortgage rates? Will they go down or stay same, i.e. 30 years fixed?
Oh, I think that they're
Winston's
going
mom
to
says
reduce
Starbucks
further.
will now only sell coffee through drive-thrus and will close some stores.
So they were quoting 3.5% to my wife the other day. We'll see what they tell her tomorrow. She's got her plate full. There's a couple of things that she's gonna have to do tomorrow. This is some lawyer stuff and all. It's all a big mess. Big mess. Okay, so for the people with cheap money now underwater, you have to pay back the loans. So the thing is anybody that's trying to like buy the dip here in equities, I would hope that those people are doing it with money that they don't need anytime soon, because the reality is if you buy stuff today, the stock market could go lower and stay like this for a year, let's say, and then eventually, 10 years from now, you're going to still be glad that you bought around this time. So it depends on your time horizon, but I really don't think that the longs are going to puke. But there's a lot of short-term traders that are, doing stuff. And okay, so that is speaking right now. Let me pull up his stream. It's going to be on the Federal Reserve webs channel. So let's just do that. Here it is. I will mute him. Oh, it's just a conference call. Okay, so let's listen to him here for a second. It's referring to companies buy back their own shares with borrowed money from the banks. Oh, right. Well, I mean, now that the rates are lower, it increases their ability to hold them. But you're right that at some point, some of these companies are going to get squeezed hard. It's going to suck. Saul says futures. Yes, we got the futures up here. So far left is the S&P 500 E-mini futures. Is kind of the one that's the most important for you guys following equities. And then this big one right here is the one that I trade the most, the 10-year. Most is, the star of the show in futures. Listening to Powell here. He's still summarizing the actions that they're taking. So yes, but fucker, the thing that you got to remember is that the limit down in the overnight session doesn't trigger a halt. You cannot sell below 25.55.50, but you can still buy 25.55.50. And there's actually a really high probability that somebody is going to come in here and buy all of those guys sitting there and try and make a spike up and cause a short covering rally of some sort. Heck, maybe something Powell says during this press conference could cause something to happen like that. But it doesn't halt it. So they're still trading, and you can kind of see there's a couple of people buying into it. We've had about 3,000 now have bought into it. So we'll see what happens. Yeah, I totally understand, because during the day you hit the 7% limit, then it's supposed to be that they halt it, right? And, I didn't really know or understand how it worked either until I had seen it a couple of times this past week. So, but now that we've done it, this is the third time, we definitely understand it, I think. Well, so you can just go to the Federal Reserve's website and they talk about it. But I mean, it's all over CNBC and everything else like that. Yeah, you can if you want. I'm in the short term, like tomorrow, will we be up or down? I don't really know. Here's the thing that let me tell you a story here. When quantitative easing was first released, there was so much controversy over it. Mohammed El-Rang, who was the president of PIMCO at the time, the largest bond investment fund managers in the world, He was very much of the opinion that quantitative easing was a really bad idea, that it wouldn't work, that it would lead to slow down, and it would deteriorate confidence, and all kind of it's very similar arguments that you're hearing now. And when when the thing happened, there was an initial spike, and then we moved down, and then we kind of came back to it. But then over the course of the trading, it just moved lower, and we closed lower. And the big headline, the day that the Federal Reserve first announced quantitative easing way back in the day, seems like so long ago. What wasn't it? 2011, 2014? I don't remember. But they were down, and that was the headline, was that the Federal Reserve saw it as an indication that a lack of confidence and that things were going to get worse and that we might go into a recession, and it was a really bad signal, right? And that day, that close was probably the best buy you could have ever had. Probably the best buy you could have ever had, because the markets just took off after that, right? So I would not read the short-term futures that we're seeing right now as the final say, right? It's one factor, it's one battle, and there's going to be battles for the next couple of months. We'll see where we go, where they go. Well, I think that there was some positioning shenanigans around that, because I was watching. Unfortunately, I wasn't streaming, but I still had it up, and I was watching that close. And I remember, I can draw a picture of it maybe. Well, we can just come back and look at it, right? If we come over here, will it let me see? Oh, you know what? I don't have enough data series on here. I have my data series all screwed up. This one, that one's 3. This one should be 3 days of data too. Then it won't be all screwed up. Okay. Maybe 3 days isn't enough. Oh, it's still calculating things. That's why we can't see it. Okay. All right. That's the aftermarket. Okay, this right here. So I was kind of messing around with it a little bit. And here, this right here, it really looked like they were going short up in here, right? You got up to that and it was like, oh, that is a short. That is a short, right? And then you spiked it up twice. Like they stopped all of the shorts out twice, and then it went down. And it did this, and it was very wild. It was shaking everybody out. And then so yeah, I kind of feel it was a little manipulated. I think that there might have been some market actions that were timed to coincide with that. Anyways. Oh wow, they have to get 81.29. Well, I mean, they could do it, but that's just so far away right now. But, okay. Well, I would expect them to go up. Right now, they moved up a little bit. I personally, I feel that if you're trying to play the interest rate thing, I don't know if gold is necessarily your best asset. So there's just been all those guys getting margin calls and selling gold and it going down and everything. Like, it's just at some point it probably will end up being a pretty good trade, but it's certainly for futures. I'm kind of like, oh man, I didn't want to have anything to do with it right now. I think it's so funny that the Federal Reserve is going to come in and buy $700 billion over the next several months. And you look at at 30 minutes of trading and come to that conclusion? I'm not saying that you're not right, but I'm just saying I don't really think that we have enough information to be saying things like that. Oh. Okay, so there are definitely, so there's a previous open, high, low, close indicator that comes with NinjaTrader, I believe. It's if you come in here, I'll show you indicators. Where is it? Prior day OHLC is probably what you want. But there's another set of indicators. If you go to Lizard Indicators, I really like this guy. I would like to speak with him. If you know him, if you know Liz, if you know Fat Tells, have him come in and visit our stream someday, and maybe we can like make something cool together. But so he has all of these different kinds of indicators, and one of the ones that he has is session tools right here. And it will tell you things like, well, there's TWAP, but there's like hourly pivots, opening range, pivots daily, monthly, and these sorts of things. And if you don't have the exact one that you want, you can totally come in here and like modify his opening range, for instance, to tell you what you want. Or you could go and modify the open, high, low, close one the way that you want. Because the kind of indicator that you're talking about isn't super difficult. And if you still can't find it, come into Discord and I know we'll make one for you. We'll make one for you because that's not super hard. Absolutely. Why wouldn't? Hey, listen. This is the best time. Can you imagine can you imagine air cages? We've been doing this now for like what, 3 years? Do people ever care about interest rates? Hell no. Hell no, people never care about interest rates. My wife will put up with it. This is like the one time in 10 years that people are interested in talking about interest rates. Hell yeah, you bet I'm going to take advantage of it, man. Oh, man. So Ace, you have self-isolated, right? You have self-isolated, I would hope. It's, oh yeah, I pulled that over and I showed you. Yeah. You know what? I've been having problems with my Chrome installation. I still have it because YouTube does not like Brave at all. Oh, you're talking about do I trade? So the answer to that one is that haven't been trading in this environment. I do take live trades on this stream. I've blown accounts on this stream. I've had great profits. I wouldn't consider myself an amazing trader, and I don't sit down and say, hey, you should all trade the way that I do. There's a lot of people that come into the chat that are much better traders than myself. But regardless of all of that, the liquidity is so low that I just have not been taking live trades. So, you see here, I have a position on in the 10-year and I had a position on in the micros, although I didn't realize when I did that we were that close to the 5% limit. So, those are just sim trades. So, but the liquidity is just so low and it's so volatile that my strategies just don't work in this. And honestly, like the risk that you're taking on in this kind of environment is like infinite, so I don't think that now is the best time to. Oh, okay. Well, good for you, Ace. Only everybody else in this country, would look up to such a great shining example of kindness. such as Ace here. Tell you what, guys, he's a good guy. Oh,
deliberately crashing
you're
the
right.
market
Sorry, I
and
turned
blaming it
off
on
the robot
CV.
lady. I'm
What
sorry.
if? What would be their motive? Buying companies cheap and fleecing the market?
Well, I don't think that that's what's happening at all. I think that the market was pretty much ignoring coronavirus until it hit Italy, and they realized that they were going to have to shut down Italy, and now that they're shutting down the United States, of course people are scared. And the thing is, how do you price it? I mean, there's been some attempts to price it in, but it's such a fluid situation too.
Ace Trade says going to help serve lunch at the local schools.
No.
Asterisk sneezes into hand.
Listen, Ace, I need you to lock yourself in a room and just not come out for 2 weeks. Your family can slide food underneath of the door. Don't get them sick either. And if they are sick, you got to self-isolate. Listen, Mitchell, maybe that's where you got it. But Donovan Mitchell, he's been in his apartment playing video games. You gotta self-isolate if you're feeling sick. Dry cough in particular. The sneezing, I'm not so concerned about. If you're sneezing, maybe you don't have it. If you have a fever, fever is kind of the thing that I would look for. If you have a fever, then I would start thinking fever and a dry cough. I would start thinking coronavirus.
Wide Open Change says, could something like this possibly bankrupt China?
Well, I don't think that China is going to go bankrupt. In fact, it looks like that China has gotten things under control. But with that said, it seems to me that this is going to cause permanent long-term damage to China. So I always laugh when people say like China created it or released it on purpose or something. It's like, yeah, and they like royally screwed over their economy for generations to come. There's people. They're moving their supply chains away from China. They're never going to bring them back. And like, honestly, this isn't the first one, right? SARS was China. There's a reason that they keep happening in China, and the Chinese government needs to get on top of them. And until they do, I think that it's a really big risk to do business in China. It's a big risk that you have to consider now.
Air Cages says, as a trader, self-isolation is just another day at the office. That's the easy part.
For me. And just stay home and, well, I'm going to go to the gym still. Looks like the Treasury futures are pushing back up again. They're getting a really strong push coming in here. The Fed must be saying something. I muted them, so I haven't been paying attention.
Baron Cosgun says, so was this a hoax to wipe out China, lol?
It was a real thing. This is a real thing, for sure.
FBI says fake China numbers. FBI says, do you trust the China numbers?
I don't trust the China numbers, but at the same time, you've got to realize that the tomfoolery has a lot to do with in how the number is collected and things like that. Like, I don't think that the Chinese government is going in and saying, okay, today the number is 500. No. But what does happen is they don't test everybody. Somebody dies and they say, oh, well, they didn't die of the coronavirus. They died because they were really old. That's how it works. That's how they do it.
Joe Huerta says bioweapons lab in Wuhan.
Yeah, but here's the thing with that, guys. Like honest talk here. Okay. If it came out of a bioweapons lab in Wuhan, there are so many different ways that the United States government would be able to determine that. And I know that there's been like stories out there, saying, oh, we have evidence that supports that it came from that center in Wuhan, that lab in Wuhan. But they make all of these claims like, oh, it contains this gene sequence and this gene sequence. And how can you confirm that? And I haven't seen that from anywhere other than like that one source and then all of the conspiracy theories that shared it afterwards, right? So if it is the case, where's the evidence of that? Because I would think that the U.S. government would be able to figure that one out really, really quickly and would be jumping at the chance to tell everybody. You know what I mean? No. But I have a theory about this. I have my own theory about this, right? Just here, I know that what I'm about to say is gonna sound a little bit crazy. Hopefully I haven't lost too many people, right? Oh, we're at 47. That's okay. Okay, listen. If I lose viewers for this, is okay. But because I know that what I'm about to say is a little bit crazy, okay? But like, just hear me out, okay? What if the disease started in another animal? Like, let's say, like maybe a bat. Like, I think a bat might be the kind of animal that I think could maybe do that. So, like, it was incubated in a bat, and then it passed over to humans. Like, maybe humans ate a bat and they got it that way, or maybe the bat passed it on to some intermediary animal, and then the humans ate that intermediary animal, and that's how it got out. And then if it was, from another animal, then we wouldn't have immunity to it, and then it could just spread really, really fast, right? Like I know it's a crazy theory, but like it could happen, right? That could happen. I don't.
Ace Trade says conspiracy Seth.
You think you don't believe me?
Joe Huerta says I had Batman symptoms last night. I was like, hey, I'm Batman.
Is that one of the symptoms of coronavirus? Hey, I'm Batman. I can't even do a Batman voice right now. Oh my gosh. Wait, what was the stuff you guys were saying before that?
Ace Trade says not going to miss my shift holding those babies in the newborn intensive care unit.
Oh,
no
no,
matter
no,
how
no,
my
no.
fever spikes or how miserable I feel.
You know what? Hardly any babies have died from it, but don't joke about that. I have a baby. I'm triggered now. You finally triggered me, Ace.
Ace Trade says no, that couldn't happen. I'll listen to the experts on this instead of you.
Okay. Well, if you want to think that however it came in, I think it came from a bat.
Says so the market wasn't able to price in an unpredictable variable, aka a virus. Big surprise. Wide Open Change says all that may be true, but why are they shutting down the entire world? Let's think about that.
Well, yeah. So wait, hold up. Was there other stuff? Sorry, I might be missing some comments. I apologize. If I you put in a comment and then like I miss it and I just carry on, you're totally cool to put it in again. I don't care. We're like that. 'Cause it's not a huge room. Yeah, why are they shutting down the whole world? Well, I mean, here's the thing is that the death rate, so there's been so much fight over the death rate. I tell you why there's so much fight over the death rate. Because what happens is people say, okay, what if everybody in the United States caught it? How many people would die? Well, let's take the number of people in the United States and times it by the death rate, and then we figure out that 11 million people will die. No, this is not how it works. Because first of all, not everybody's going to catch it. But then the death rates vary by your population, and you can be so much more accurate than that if you look at the demographics and everything else like that. When we've looked at isolated cases, like for instance, these boats where everybody on the boat caught it, it usually comes out to around 0.5. So death rate of 0.5. But here's the thing is that the death rate, it doesn't matter. The death rate is not all that big. SARS had a really bad death rate. Wasn't SARS like 20% or something like it was really scary. No. The thing that is unique about this one is that it is very contagious. It is very, very contagious. It's like twice as contagious as some of these other ones. And the hospitalization rate for confirmed cases is much higher. So there's something like a 20% chance that if you have a confirmed case, that it's going to be serious enough for you to require oxygen or a ventilator or something like that. Okay. So yeah, it's like 0.5%, but it's really 0.5% if like everybody gets treatment. But if you run into the situation where people can't get treated, like they're starting to hit into in Italy, then the death rate skyrockets. And that's where you start to get this 3.56% rates, right? Because they can't treat it. And so at that point, it starts to become contingent on the United States government to do everything that they can to avoid hitting that limit where we run out of hospital beds and we can't treat everybody. So that's why they're shutting everything down. Now, there's this other question, which is like, at which point does everybody catch it and you're not going to stop it? And the damage that you're doing to the economy is more than the virus itself? Well, I mean, I think that if you hit that hospitalization limit either way, it doesn't really matter. You're going to do the damage one way or another. And so you might as well just shut everything down. And I think that that's the point at which it's gotten to. But for me, because I was making fun of it, man. I'll admit, I really did not think things were going to get this far. Really did not. And it was the point at which Italy was shutting everything down that I was like, okay, actually, there's something more about this that matters, that is more than just the economy, because it's not even a factor. Sorry, I have the window open because it's getting hot in here, so you can probably hear some cars driving around outside. Yeah. Bunch of comments here during all of that. Why is the death rate about 10% in Italy? Yeah, because they were running out of hospital beds. Because Italians are always drunk. Let's see here. Yeah, hospitals be overwhelmed. A White Open says, I'm an ER nurse. Things aren't adding up. Well, I mean, come on. If you're an ER nurse, like, tell me, what is it like when we're in the flu season, right? Flu season is always really hard for hospitals anyways. Yes. Oh, we'll have him come in. Hold on a second. My parents are here. Oh, they're probably going to ignore me and just take the food and then leave. Seth, you were talking a lot of shit about Corona. No joke. I was, right? Oh, the behind me is my stepson Everett, who is playing. What is he playing? I have no clue what he's playing. It's some game that I've never seen before. Blink if you need. Okay, I'm gonna try and hold my eyes like no blinking now. I probably blinked right there. Good grief. It's the flu, folks, not the Black Plague or the Angel of Death. Yeah, well, so there is one thing about what I was saying earlier. Is that it? You just okay? They brought us food because they cooked some food, and he's not going to stick around because we're supposed to be socially isolated. Can you guys close the door, by the way? No, I'm going to close it. Hold on a second. Actually, hold on a second. Let me get some water here. I'll be right back. Right? Oh, much better. Having water in my mouth is great. Why are the futures not trading every 5 minutes? Is there a liquidity problem? Well, there's definitely a liquidity problem. So, just to get an idea of what liquidity is usually like in futures, 10-year treasury, it's pretty standard to have at least 2,000 to 3,000 contracts bid or offered at every price. And look, right now they're putting up 42. Now, it's always less in the overnight session like we have right now, but 13, there's definitely a liquidity problem. All of the liquidity is just pulled. And then because there's so low liquidity and all these robots are just running amok. I'm surprised though. Look, there's 4,800 have bought into 25, 55, 50 now. That's interesting. I still think that we will see a pop here at some point. I think that they're going to buy above that offer that they got stuck in. It'll be off to the races. Who knows? Maybe we'll go back up and we'll hit the 5% limit on the upside too. That would be fun. That would be fun, right? Joe.
Bob Bear says yeah, and the majority will live. I'm afraid when
Probably.
people become callous to this stuff. Scalping dollar store products, hoarding toilet paper and screwing with IRs is gonna get old really quick.
Yeah.
Wide Open Change says the flu is wear a mask, they have the flu. With CV it's a full gown up and a helmet air filter system, takes a long time to gear up just to enter the room. Air Cages says I hope I won't die. One less viewer for Seth.
Oh, that would be
Bob Bear
awful.
says we're in a bear
You're
market.
a good viewer too.
Lucas says maybe
Here
I
every
missed this,
day.
but what are your expectations for this week's action, Seth?
Well, I think that the market's still going to be very, very volatile. I'm not convinced that we've seen the low of this. I personally have a really hard time seeing a meaningful rally, like a meaningful and like sustainable rally, until we're closer to, you know, until we're past the bump, you know, when the cases are going down, and then maybe we can recover. But until then, I expect the markets will continue to be very, very volatile. I expect there will be a lot of sideways action. So, are we in a bear market? We're in a bear market.
Bob Bear says we're in a bear market.
We're in a bear market for sure. But that doesn't mean that we're going to continue to go down.
Ace Trades says Everett, what are you going to do for 2 weeks?
What is ever gonna? He's probably gonna spend most of his time on that computer, I'm guessing. But I have some plans. You hear me, child? He doesn't. He can't even hear me. He's got those headphones on. I got some plans for him. We have a curriculum, and the school apparently is going to be doing remote teaching. So they all have iPads and they can do that. It'll be really interesting to see how that all works out. But yeah, that's what they're going to be doing. I have plans. I have plans for all of them. I got books and stuff for them to read. It's going to be great. Maybe I'll force them to sit and watch a session. We'll see. Oh,
Joe Huerta says I work for a major petroleum company and I live right in the heart of the fracking world. Very, very nervous right now.
You know, they were talking about, are they going to bail out the fracking companies? And I'm kind of sitting here like, well, I don't really think that they should, but it's going to be really ugly, man. I mean, fracking is at its heart. Yeah. I feel bad for you, man. I'm sorry.
Sergio Figueroa says, do you think some crews or airlines that won't make it?
Oh, well, there's probably always going to be at least one, but I really can't tell you how bad it's going to get. I just know that from my wife's perspective, she's not really very concerned about regional air travel. So I don't know. It's really weird to me. Every time I see something, it's just, she already knows, because she follows in these groups. Like, she really knows what's going on in her industry. But she's like not concerned at all, and I'm just like, that can't be right. That can't be right.
Ken Wong says, hi Seth, I'm new to your channel and
Hey,
trading
thank you, Ken.
futures. What setup are you using on your screen to trade futures? Also,
Okay.
can you point me towards learning?
Okay, so I have a video on my channel called "What is the best futures trading software platform?" and I talk about what I use. But the gist of it is, I'm using Jigsaw Day Trader for my depth of market. That's these windows that you see up towards the top of the screen. And then this chart down here, that's done in Ninja Trader. I have some other charts on another screen that I haven't really been showing yet, but those are the charts that I use. But I don't really watch them too much. In terms of learning, I also have a video called "What are the best books?" And if you read those books, you have a really, really great foundation. But the best teacher is the market. And I do not recommend spending exorbitant amounts of money learning how to trade. Especially the really expensive courses are almost always scams. Like I will say, Axia Futures has a solid course, and that's probably like the biggest that I would go. But there's some of these ones where it's like you go to a seminar and then it's like a monthly thing, and no, don't do those. It's a waste of your money. The best teacher is the market, and I would read those books and then start watching the market and come up with your own strategies. That's how you do it.
Bob Bear says, I appreciate your streams, Seth, and everyone's comments here.
Yeah, thank you
Good
so much.
trading to all this week.
Let's see a couple of other ones in here.
Lucas says, yeah, I agree. I also think it's probably not a good time to take measures to avoid further fall since it will keep on going down and you might run out of measures to take when we are close to bottom.
Well, yeah, that's a good point, but you just got to remember that these measures aren't all like all at once things, right? They're measures that will continue to support the market for weeks and months to come. And I have to say, I remember when we had quantitative easing, that was good trading. That was good trading. And even if the market continues to fall down, it's going to support the markets and it's going to help make it worse than it normally would. So I'm not quite so concerned about that. And I'm especially not too concerned about, like, what does the market do in the next 2 weeks? Like, you know what? Trader's going to trade. Trader's going to trade. We'll see what it does.
Connor Green says work for hospitality company, sales down 30% at least already, go to school in LA, went from 2-week online session to full session. Grocery stores cannot place orders for certain goods.
So do you have a source for the grocery stores can't place orders for certain goods? Because I tell you what, man, I went to Walmart. I shouldn't have done it, but I went to my one store and it was okay. Didn't have any bread. We needed bread because I've got these kids to feed. So we needed sandwich stuff. And then I decided to go to Walmart, and Walmart was just a disaster zone. Like the canned and prepared meals section, like Hamburger Helper and stuff, completely cleaned out. And they were like furiously putting stuff on the shelves, and they had all of the crates out, and they had already put them out. Like they literally burned through their inventory. I was so shocked. And my understanding is that we'll get just as much more new inventory every day, and that eventually it'll go back to the way that it was. And our good friend Uzi has assured us that that's what happens every time there's a run on stuff going into a hurricane in Florida. But man, it's crazy. And if some groceries are having trouble keeping up with certain goods, that would be a concern to me.
Air Cages says, how would you define a liquidity crisis?
Man, I don't know, but look at it right now. You're looking at it. At least when we're talking about like a market liquidity crisis. Yeah, maybe a liquidity crisis in terms of dollars, that's maybe a different thing.
Ace Trade says, Ken, just get an account, then when the market opens, just click buy and sell buttons. You will figure it out.
Just come in here, wait for Ace to come and tell you which way he's going, and just follow him. It works pretty good. As long as you don't like start clicking too much.
Connor Green says Toliet paper and other goods are unable to be restocked. I heard 50% of meats aren't being stocked. Talked to worker at Ralph's, coworker friends with manager at Trader Joe's.
Yeah, well, I think especially the goods with like toilet paper and stuff that people were buying them all out expecting to be able to resell them. But if you try and at least here in Utah, if you try and resell it for more than 10% of what you got it for, then you can be fined $1,000 for every instance. So yeah, price gouging, probably a really big part of it.
FBI says were thousands of trucks stuck at German borders because of border closures.
Mm-hmm.
Ace Trade says, except I can't, someone now owns me.
Oh, he straight up owns you. I don't know. Selling yourself into slavery, Ace? First the cold, and now you're telling me that you've sold yourself into slavery? Are you doing okay? Now I'm a little concerned.
Air Cages says, I'm storing my value in gold.
I tell you what, one thing about the gold is that even though gold has gone down, it hasn't been like too bad, and as long as you weren't trading it with futures.
Sergio Figueroa says, I didn't know you are from Utah.
Oh, really?
Me too, from Clinton, Utah.
Yeah, and Ace is from Utah too. But I'm kind of more Davis County area. Clinton, where? That's like way down there, isn't it?
Ace Trade says, is it normal for a boss to make you chew their food for them?
I'm not gonna answer that.
Bob Bear says, I like Utah a lot.
Utah's a good place. I have this theory that if a creator is from Utah, YouTube is more likely to show you them because you live in Utah. But I can't prove it. But I've run across so many creators that I ended up liking that were like from Utah. So like the Alpha Gaming guy, he's from Utah. I really like him. What is his name? Mark Rober, is that his name? And he does like scientific experiment kinds of stuff. Like he was the one that churned a whole pool into Jello. He's from Utah. And I always see these people earlier on before they became like really famous. So I think that if you're in Utah, it shows your creator that you're from Utah.
Bob Bear says, so many tech heads there, lol.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of technology stuff out here too.
Ace Trade says, Clinton, it's Swampland by Ogden.
Where? Oh, is that? Oh, you're right. Yes, I know what you're talking about. Yes, that's way up there. It's further north than me.
Ace Trade says, my boss's wife makes me massage her feet at the pool. Is that normal?
You might have a case for a lawsuit there, Ace. If that's, yeah, I would. I don't know. That's slavery. That's kind of weird. You can you imagine? They put Ace into slavery to take advantage of his amazing trading system and discretion, and what do they do? They have him massage feet. I just
Adeptic says, are they nice feet?
This is a quite good question. And how do you feel about feet? My wife hates feet.
Ace Trade says she makes me call her Mrs. Robinson. Ken Wong says, at Ace, are they hairy?
Ugh. Are your boss's feet hairy? You might not want to answer that one.
Ace Trade says, Ken, they are not. She is kind of hot.
Oh, okay. That's good. That's good.
Adeptic says, Ace must be some irresistible hunk.
I mean, he's okay looking, yeah. He's maybe a little better looking than me, actually, to be honest. Maybe just a little bit.
Adeptic says, well, then STFU.
There you go. You got
Joe
a good.
Werda
Apparently,
says,
you got a good
Trades,
setup.
does she live in Phoenix?
No, hold on a second. We've already maxed out the. Just wanted to say that. Arsen was saying that is weird and not normal. Yeah, you're right. It's not normal. But you know what? What is normal right now? Really, what is normal? Nothing normal anymore. Well, I'm really happy with my treasury trade. If I had, the way that was trading, I don't think that I would have a big enough account. You'd have to have a really big account to take that trade, but I absolutely would have taken that one live. Like, the Federal Reserve just cut rates and they swing down off of the open. Hell yeah, you buy that shit with as much as you can and just weather the storm is what I would say. But man.
Joe Werda says Trump is normal.
I don't know about that one anymore. I mean, it's becoming normal. When that's been going on for 4 years now, I guess it's normal.
Ace Trade says, I only have to call trades for a couple of hours, then she makes me prance around the pool, teach her yoga, and sometimes she wants to eat lunch off my tummy.
We're not talking about your wife, are you? Because you said your boss's wife. But now you're making me think that you're making a joke about your wife. But if that's your wife's wife, or what is going on over there, dude? Do I need to come? Do I need to come down there?
Harlequin says, "Ah, lol, you were stramming again the open? What did I miss? Just saw limit down again, lol."
Right? I did. Yeah. Well, as soon as I saw interest rate, you know what happened was I played Diabolical, and I got bored of it. Like I took some Adderall, and I got bored of it. And I was like, okay, well, let's go read. Reading is something that I have a really hard time doing, but when I'm on it, the Adderall, I can just sit and read. So I went and got the baby, went upstairs, and started reading. And then I was going to read it on my phone, and first thing that happens, oh, emergency interest rate cut. And I'm like, all right, I guess we're streaming.
Connor Green says, "Why did S&P futures stop? Please note, the S&P 500 contract rolled over on March 15th, 2020 to the June 20th contract."
So I rolled over on Friday. It didn't stop. It's still trading. Can you know? Do you know? By the way, let's change this so that we can see here. Display time. Let's add time onto it. Now the new orders will show us the time so we can see. So they're still trading it. It's just right now you can only buy. If you're in the E-mini, the only thing you can do is buy at 25, 55, 50, which is crazy.
Air Cages says, "This self-isolation is really getting to me."
It's only been like a few days, Air Cages. We're supposed to self-isolate for 2 weeks.
Adeptic says, "I'm joining late. Did you already cover which wins? The Fed rate cut versus newest spike in dead people in Europe?"
Yeah, I don't know. You know what? I didn't catch that there was a spike. I have to go back and look. All I did was I took 2 trades. I thought, okay, I think that the E-mini might bounce, but then I didn't realize that it was at the 5. So I think that these were on sim. This one was obviously a dumb trade. Now that we are in it, what can we say? What can we do? Well, you could try getting out. The chances of there being a spike up and overnight at some point is really high. I got to tell you, with the way that these circuit breakers work, people can only buy right now, essentially. Well, I mean, I guess you could sell 25, 55, 50, but as soon as you get filled, you're going to be at the end of the line. They're going to fill you. They're going to go through you. It's going to come up, almost guaranteed, at some point. Now, the question is just how quickly does it do it, and how far does it go when they do it? Right?
Ace Trades says, "They pay me a sick ton of money, plus benefits."
Well, if it's a ton
I'm
of
not
money,
hating the multiple streams of income. Joe Huerta says, "Tell us about the latest news. All these are variables to market conditions."
Okay, well, the latest news that I see from Forex Live is US CDC recommending gatherings over 50 people should be postponed for 8 weeks. So that's how you do it.
Air Cages says, "What does Adderall do for you?"
Okay, so Adderall significantly improves my ability to focus on one thing at a time and to control my impulses. So when I'm not on Adderall, I would end up taking more trades. I would end up more often taking trades that didn't make any sense, or, just like FOMOing into things. With Adderall, my ability to control my emotions and what I'm paying attention to is greatly improved. So that's why I, to sit down and read something for hours at a time without medication, could not do it. Could probably not sit and read for more than 10 minutes before wanting to take a break.
Harlequin says, "An already 8K offer. So will they stay there for 8 hours and then down gap lower again?"
Well, the last 2 times that this has happened, there was short covering rallies. So Ace says they pay but sick ton of
Ace
money,
Trades says, "They pay me a sick ton of money, plus benefits. I'm not hating the multiple streams of income." Twemdog says, "Gotcha Ace, nice." Adeptic says, "I'm amazed Ace is willing to sacrifice his valuable time to be with us. I am very grateful, and very indebted to Ace. Thank you."
Yeah.
Joe Huerta says, "I'm going to go watch the debate. However, this was good. Thanks, man. Later,
There's
Chris.
a debate today. That's right. When is the debate? Oh my gosh, debate is going to be fucking hilarious. Okay, wait. Uh, Democratic debate.
121 The Project 121 says what trades you thinking for tomorrow?
Well, I'm thinking I got this. I don't know what I did. I went long. Let me show you what I did on Sim, okay? And let me explain why it's dumb. Okay, so I took a trade in the treasuries when it was really, really light. It went against me quite a bit, but it's gone over 72 ticks in my favor. It's really great. I think that we could go higher. I have so much profit baked into it that I could probably sit and let this swing and let's say like 140 maybe. Okay. In the E-mini, I bought it because I thought I saw a little bit of a sign of a turn, and then it came down and it went limit offer down. I didn't realize that we were that close to the 5% limit. Probably should have done that, but I would never trade live in the overnight session. It was just was for fun, you know? So now that I'm stuck with it, I expect that there's going to be a short covering rally at some point, then I can get out. Tomorrow, I think that it will be really top turny. Maybe they do the 5%, 7% down thing again. Wouldn't surprise me. But at some point, I think that the government is going to come in and try and stabilize markets. I don't know. You got to realize I am such a short-term trader. You know, I basically scalp. I'm usually not in a trade for more than 30 minutes. So it's pretty difficult for me to kind of make a play like that. I expect that the liquidity will still be really, really low, which means that I will not take live trades. So
Joe Huerta says put it on. Ace Trades says, well, I'm just doing dishes and dinner. I miss Seth. He is part of my morning and I miss him and the crew.
Thank you, Ace.
Joe Huerta says, oh, it starts in 35 minutes. Air Cages says, which pill is the one most like from the movie Limitless? The one that makes you a millionaire Forex trader? Asking for a friend.
I don't know, man. The thing is the way that, because you're asking about ADHD medications, the way that it affects me is going to be very different from the way that it affects you. You know what I mean? So.
Ahmed Lita says, I am new to trading. Can you please explain to me how Fed rate cuts is going to play in the next 6 months and 12 months in relation to USA and global markets?
Wow. Well, in the next 6 to 12 months, that's a really hard one. I think that probably we're going to move sideways a lot, right? Like next 2 weeks is probably still going to be very volatile. And then we will start to move sideways until we've got some signal that we're getting a bounce and that companies are actually bouncing back hard. I believe that at some point, because of the temporary nature of what's going on, that when we bounce, that it will be incredibly fast on the way back up. But that might not be able to happen until, like, let's say August. Like maybe from August to November, maybe we're on the road to recovery. The big but on that one would be if there's contagion, financial contagion, which means like companies start going out of business and that causes other companies to go out of business. And you get something like the 2008 crisis, right? But what I do is very much like I'm usually not in a position for more than 30 minutes. You can see here, I took some sim trades today. Like I wouldn't trade this time normally, but since we're streaming and wanted to have some fun with it, we took a trade. Overall, it worked out. Like the way that this is going. So I was talking about how I think I want to play this. I think that my trade in the 10-year treasury is really, really good. And I'm kind of hedged with the E-mini. So if the E-mini goes down, the treasury will probably continue to go up and I still make money. But I also think at some point that the E-mini is going to come back on us. And then we could probably catch a win out of this treasury, this E-mini too, even if we don't get the short covering rally that I want to see overnight. But probably we're going to get a short covering rally. Probably, let's just say, how many do I have? How many did I put on? I put on 2, right? Okay. So in case something crazy happens, we'll put him up there. Anyways.
121 The Project 121 says, do you do options or?
Well, I've messed with options before. I certainly don't do the Wall Street bets kind of thing. Like if I'm going to do options, it's going to be either like if I'm going to do theta, it's going to be completely hedged. I know some of you guys out there that they just, hey, let's sell calls. Hell no. No way I'm going to do that. No way. It'd have to be completely delta neutral position. That or, verticals, like I think it's going to go up. This is how far I think it could go up, and use verticals to get my costs down. And that would be kind of more of a you maybe win 10 to 30% of the time, but when you do win, you win really big. So I mess around with options a little bit like that, but I do want to use options more, but mostly as a tool in a larger portfolio strategy and not like short-term trading. I really feel that if you want to do short-term trading, that futures are a better instrument for that. So yeah, we'll see.
121 The Project 121 says, think we are gonna sell a pullback and a reversal of the gains put on Friday.
Well, it looks to me like the traders took advantage of the low liquidity and pretty much canceled out that rally. So, I mean, I guess there's a little bit more to go down, right? Yeah, because that rally really started at 2,500. But if they hadn't stopped them, I bet you they probably would have gone down there.
Adeptic says so. The U.S. cases doubled since yesterday. Adeptic says Italy reported an additional 300 plus deaths overnight.
But how do you attach number of deaths to number on the E-mini? You know what I mean? This is one of the things that I think kind of really concerns me, is like a lot of the selling is based on sentiment because they really can't price it,
Ace Trade says, not me, no one is entering or leaving my house. Day trade, transfer money to bank, order everything from Amazon. Homeschool the kids, pay bills online. Lol. Air Cages says options? If you will learn one thing by sticking around in this room is that Seth doesn't do risk.
I try to be low risk. By the way, 18 likes today. Thank you guys so much. If you haven't hit that like button, go ahead and do so. This might end up being my my best live stream ever. So thank you very much.
Joe Huerta says, did anyone invest in toilet paper stocks?
Is there such a thing?
You would be making serious dollar.
I'm sure that consumer goods are doing better than the rest of the market, but they could still be down.
Adeptic says, I think the secret is to find out WHO it is that manufactures toilet paper. Buy their stock prior to earnings. Slightly smiling face.
Man.
Air Cages says, Ace, can I come and stay at your place?
Oh, there you go. Hey, he could help you with the feet massaging.
Baz here says, Bloody Monday.
I don't know. I mean, here's the thing, Baz, is that normally me seeing 5% limit down would be like, oh, that's super bad. And, the last 2 times we opened up limit down, and then they went down to -7% and hit the circuit breaker, and then kind of leveled out. They did that last Monday, and they did that Thursday, right? And when those happened, that was a really bearish signal to me. But I watched this open. There was no liquidity on that move. Nobody put the liquidity in there. So to see that it's now down 5% doesn't really mean a whole lot of anything to me. And like I said, I know that there's 10,000 stacked there, 25, 55, 50. Pretty good chance that there's going to be a recovering rally here overnight at some point. And who knows? maybe they pull it out and they move up to the what would it be? Well, I don't know. Maybe they could go to 5% up. Maybe they go to the complete other side. Who knows? Because there's just so little liquidity. They could do whatever they want, really.
Ahmed Lita says, what is your opinion on Forex trading faced with tears of joy?
So I'm not really a huge fan of Forex. The thing that's nice about Forex is that you can trade for, such a small amount. Like if you wanted to put $100 in there, you could trade $100 worth in Forex, right? But the issue with Forex, there's two issues. One is that, well, number one, your broker is basically playing against you, right? That's how that works. That's how they make money is they arbitrage the money away from you. So you can't really scalp it per se. But you can catch moves in Forex, right? But then the issue on that one is like your risk reward is like infinity, right? If you catch a move by a central bank on the currencies on Forex is going to be crazy. And if that goes your way, you could make a ton of money. And if it doesn't go your way, you lose your whole account, right? So if you want to day trade, futures is really your best choice here because you get the leverage, but you can control your risk better. At least normally you can control your risk better. Like if I put a stop somewhere, in normal conditions, I'm not going to get more than a tick worth of slippage. So that's good. You can really control your risk. You get a lot of good trades, and there's tax benefits to it too. If you're in the United States, there's tax benefits to trading futures. So futures really is a better instrument for day trading compared to options or Forex. Options, you can day trade options, but like you're at a really big disadvantage to like those guys on the floor, versus you're trying to trade against these guys with Robinhood. Like, come on, you don't stand a chance.
121 The Project 121 says the Clorox company is doing very well. Can you explain what yours for futures? Have never got into futures. Never really found futures. What instruments are you using to trade usually? Thanks. 121 The Project 121 says, how do you even trade S&P futures?
Right. Oh, wait. Hold on. Let's see what Gary has to say.
Gary Rich says, good afternoon, zero interest rates. Baz here says gold at this time. Gary Rich says times divided by. Gary Rich says, well, sign me up to trade futures. Ace Trades says Gary is here. Go. Crew completed.
Yeah,
Ace Trades says 121. Want to trade futures?
I think
take $100, light it on fire, then throw it into a can of gas. Repeat.
Yeah, that's the way that it works. So here's the first thing that I would say about trading futures is that if you are just getting into trading futures, just assume that you're going to lose money. Like straight up, if you're new, you're not going to be very good at it. It is incredibly difficult. And so for that reason, I would not suggest trading it live at first. I would trade sim for a long time. In fact, I wouldn't even be, against trading for a whole year on sim. Now there are problems with sim because it's not the same mental game. Okay. But you're not even, most beginners, you're not even to that point. Like, do you even have a strategy that works that's profitable? Probably you don't. And what you're going to find is you'll find a strategy and then it'll stop working. So then you have to like deal with the seasonality of things and how it reacts in different environments and how do you adjust for that? It's really difficult. It's really, really very, very difficult. So don't waste all of your money all at once, right? Trade sim a little bit. Get figure out what you're doing. Because I've seen some people come in and I want to trade futures, put $5,000 into it, and then a week later it's gone because they didn't know what they were doing, and they'll put some trade on without a stop and just let it go on forever. And yeah, no, that's no good. You don't want that. Oh, those treasuries are just, the 10-year is just still going, man. Oh, baby. That just, whoa. This right here, of course it's on a sim account, but that 10-year, that is the best trade I've ever taken. So yeah. So that's the first thing. And then the next thing is that I can't necessarily give you a profitable strategy. I'll tell you, Ace, he showed me some stuff, and I've kind of been taking advantage of it. And sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't. I think in this kind of environment, it's really hard to just take any kind of trade. But even with as effective as it is, there's still like a lot of discretion involved. And I don't think that I trade it in half as well as he does. It really is. It really is a matter of like deciding where you want to trade and kind of carving out your edge. Because if everybody used the same edge, then they would trade it too fast and arbitrage it out, and you wouldn't be able to make money off of it. So you really want to do the work to, even if you base it off of somebody else's, like I am kind of readjusting my strategy based on things that Ace is telling me, but I still have ways of making it my own. Because otherwise, there's not going to be any edge, like if everybody did it, right? So you do kind of, the art of trading to me is making decisions on whether to buy or sell based on what the rest of the market is doing. And so if that's the case, then it's going to be different in every situation. And you're going to want to have your setups and be able to adjust those setups for the conditions. That's really trading. So that means that the real skill that you want to make is to be able to adjust, to be able to, find a strategy, confirm if it works, execute it well. That's the strategy. That's the thing that you really got to work on, because whatever trade that you have, it might not work forever. And then what are you going to do if you just stole it from somebody else, right? Yeah.
Air Cages says, Seth, can you add a virtual crystal ball to your trading setup? That way we could always consult the crystal ball before placing a trade.
Some things do seem like a crystal ball, like they probably would be as effective as a crystal ball. Like, as in not effective at all, just random.
Ace Trade says, I think the 3 to 4 tick stop is the key. It either goes your way and gives you a point or two, or not.
Well, so the way that I've been trying to do it, Ace, I've been doing it with an 8 tick stop, but you lose most of the time. Just, it's so volatile that if you have it right, they're going to stop you out first. It's kind of weird. But then I kind of slowed it down and I said, okay, let it, I don't know. I've adjusted for it. I'm trying to front run the trade now, which is I can see that there's a potential crossover, and I can see that there's a volume imbalance, and I take the trade before it gets there, and then try and take the 8 after that. And that's actually been working really well. It's kind of does weird stuff though. Like it'll like work every freaking time, and then it will not work. And there's kind of, so I don't know if that's just me or the market. Like I had to flip around when that was that big buy into the close on Friday. It initially had me going short, and then I flipped, and then I started. So a lot of it has to do with the trendiness of that market. But you are right that the whole thing is about like managing risk is really the long and short of it.
Mark Bjornaby says, does Seth have his Series 7 license?
So I have like Series 7 study materials, but no, I don't have a Series. So I can't execute trades for you. And everything that I'm telling you is just like how I trade. I'm not giving financial advice.
Bob Bear says that was totally a long on Friday, but they made the range quite wide before making the move.
Oh yeah, like they tried to shake everybody out first. It was totally crazy. It's totally crazy, man.
Ace Trade says you can suck the VWAP, bro. Lol.
I don't know. And you know what? The other thing is there's some periods where it will like, it'll just turn into a jumble, and it'll be going across the signal that I'm looking to take a trade over and over and over again, and I have to know to like ignore it. It was and it's been doing that a lot lately.
Bob Bear says suck the VWAP lol.
It's so interesting. Like I don't think I actually programmed it up. I was programming something else up that was similar though. And it didn't work. It showed that like when it works, but most of the time it doesn't work. That makes sense. Let me rephrase that. My gosh, that was so dumb. So you'll have a signal where like every time that this big move that you really want to catch happens, you will see this signal first. But that's only like 10% of the time that you actually see that signal. So there's a lot of things like that. That's where you get into those outsized risk reward things. Like if you have a big enough account that you can do it, then you can totally have trades where you take a very, very little risk and it only works like 10% of the time. But man, when it works, it really works. And the wins make up for the losses. Okay, so what's the deal with the debate today? One-on-one. We'll have no audience. The podiums will be 6 feet apart. Of course. It will be live on CNN. I don't know if we'll want to like. I'm already feeling tired from streaming with you guys. In fact, I think maybe here in 15 minutes, if we don't get the pop, at some point it's gonna pop. I'm just gonna leave it and let it go. But Jake Tapper, Dana Bash, and Ilya Calderon are moderating. And at what time is it? Of course, Tulsi didn't make the debate stage. That's retarded. What time is that? 8 p.m. Eastern time. Oh, so it'll be at the top of the hour. Well, you know what? I think I should eat at that time. So we'll stop it just a little bit before that. It'll give you enough time to go and find the stream. But if you just go to CNN.com, that'd probably be the better way to watch it. Let me text my wife here. I don't know, like but the thing with the debate, like we do get a lot of viewers from the debate, but they're not really interested in trading, so it doesn't really help the channel out too much. And we can't like show the audio to you, so it's kind of. Plus, it's so tiring. Like watching it is tiring. I think I'm gonna go and I'm gonna sit down, and I bet you I'm gonna fall asleep.
Air Cages says Ace, your signal doesn't work. Deal with it. You were the signal all along.
Oh, thank you so much.
Ahmed Lita says thank you for answering some of my questions. I've left you with a subscription and a like for the video. I'll be sure to be here more often. Smiling face. Peace everyone. Victory hand.
Yeah, we're here every morning at 8:20 Eastern time. 8:20 Eastern time. So come in and we can watch the market when it's at more regular times and take more serious trades. I don't think that I'll be taking any live trades for a while, because I think that it's going to be crazy like this for a while, but you never know. You never know. Man, it's just been totally dead. How many? So we can see now, we can see the trades, right? So there are definitely people buying, but look, it hasn't been since for like 3 to 5 minutes. That's funny.
Adeptic says that's an ungodly hour for us West Coasters.
Oh, yeah, I know, right? Well, but that's the thing that's so beautiful about Adeptic. I mean, I know it sounds crazy and like not fun, but you can wake up and do your trading and trade for like 2 or 3 hours, and then you're like done before everybody else is even going to work. Of course, it's really hard to make a living off of futures trading, but hey, if you're willing to go to bed early, it's really great. And that's what I'm in the US West time, so I'm sure that another hour would really, really suck, but you can do it. I dare you to. No, I'm not going to do that, Ace. Why would I do that? It's funny, though. I'll tell you what. I'll try and get him one of these days. I'll have to be before Wednesday, so maybe tomorrow. Tomorrow or Tuesday. Mm-mm.
Adeptic says, yeah, that's great. Only, you still gotta first wake up.
Yeah, but when you do it every day for years, it's not a big deal.
Mr. Teddy's S says, when does Powell speak?
Oh, you know what? That's done and over with. I was listening to it, but I didn't want to cover it over. Let's see if there was anything about that maybe we missed, because I didn't really see anything too significant coming through. But that is willing to be patient before raising rates again amid coronavirus slowdown. Oh, okay. I mean, the question is still, the thing that I want to know is, will they ever go negative? And I don't know if they'll do that. Adam Button being retweeted by Forex Live. I believe there really was a USD funding squeeze, and adding an 84-day maturity option in addition to the current 1-week option should end it. That's a green light to sell USD JPY. Oh, really? So does that mean... Wait, what has the 6J been doing? Well, the 6J is higher, but it hasn't been completely tracking the treasuries, so I don't know if we need to worry about that. For this trade right here, I'm concerned about it. Like, what if this goes down and this goes down? Then I'd be in trouble.
Mark Bjornaby says, government official, coronavirus vaccine trial starts Monday.
Okay. That would be... Well, it's good sentiment news, at least.
Adeptic says a vaccine trial? Really? My BS detector is going off.
I actually think that's probably true, because there were already people that were saying that they pretty much had a vaccine. The problem is that you have to go through trials is like months and months. Yeah, there you go. Raziel says it.
Raziel says vaccine trial takes at least a year.
Takes a long time to get the trial through. So, oh, it looks like Futures Trader 71 will be presenting on order flow and volatile markets at Bookmap Pro's Pro Trader Series on Thursday, March 19th at 11 a.m. And he has a go-to meeting. I think I will attend that. I think you should too. Futures Trader 71. Although I'm afraid that they will just show stuff from their Vista chart or whatever they call it, and not things that are too useful to if you're just looking at a DOM, which always drives me crazy.
Mark Bjornaby says, here I thought Inovio Pharmaceuticals would beat everybody to the draw. Kaiser Permanente Research Facility takes first place.
And I don't even think like the raise to it. I don't think that a vaccine is going to affect the current crisis, right? They're not going to get the vaccine out before, the issue that we're having where the hospitalization is a problem. And they're not going to, the thing that's going to kind of cause things to trail off. One is just most people getting infected, but then also the weather is probably going to really help as well. It's already pretty nice outside, actually. So I'm sure that's what ends up on ending it. We'll see. Yeah.
Adeptic says even if the vaccine were here now, past trials and ready to go, it will do nothing for the people already walking around with the virus.
Well, the question is how many people actually have it? Because I keep hearing, like 500,000 people could have it, this many. But like the honest truth is we really have no clue. We really have no clue. So, yeah. I right-clicked somewhere. Well, you know what, guys? Thank you so much. I had so many people come through and watch. So I really appreciate it. We had 635 playbacks. Wow. And yeah, at one point we were at 69 viewers. We never broke 70. I think my all-time high is 70. I'm that boring, folks. But people did turn in. I appreciate it. And for those of you guys that enjoy this content and are here every day, and for those of you that are maybe new, I really appreciate it. So
Adeptic says 69 is not a bad number.
yeah, it's not a bad name. It's been not a bad number.
Mark Bjornaby says chuckle.
Well, a lot of people watch them on replay too, so. Man, and 21 likes, so thank you. So if you haven't clicked the like button, do so. And again, I have a Patreon, so if you're interested in Bitcoin, I have that. You can go and check it. Made pretty amazing call on the Bitcoin this week, but you won't be able to see that until Wednesday? Unless you subscribe for the $5 enough a month. And there's something else we've got to tell you about. Oh yeah, and then hit that subscribe button and click the bell icon. And now I know that on every YouTube video that you see, they tell you, oh yeah, subscribe and click the bell. But see, for this channel, because we're a live channel, if you click the bell icon, it's a lot easier to find the channel every morning when we're going live at 8:20. So if you want to join us, we're here every day, and it's the same group of guys. Got the same group of about 20 or so people that are here every day. They're way better traders than me, and they'll tell you what they're doing, and you can learn a lot from them. So I will see you guys then tomorrow. I am going to go watch the debate and probably snooze through it. I'll see you tomorrow. And in the meantime, stay profitable, friends.